I didn't hear it, but my whole group chat is like, "Oh shit, what happened? What happened? What happened?" I'm like, "Oh man, this is crazy."
What did happen?
So like Kenny Omega won like the AEW world title last night on their Dynamite show, and then like he ran out like with I forgot what the guy's
Don
name is. I don't
Callis.
watch. Yeah, I'm not like a weekly watcher of Dynamite, but I watch somewhat like frequently. Like they got into a truck and said, "Yeah, we'll see you on Tuesday at Impact," and like that's a different company. So I wonder if they bought them.
Like TNA Impact or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. But he should be in WWE, Kenny Omega.
I would not want him to go there because they
Me
wouldn't know what to do with him.
They'd ruin him.
They would not know what to do with him.
I'll give it to WWE though. The product in the last few months has been much better.
Yeah, because early in the year it was brutal. I think it had a lot to do with the fact they was in the performance center, but like it's so much better now.
Yeah, once they did that whole Thunderdome thing with virtual fans, that made it much more palatable to watch again.
Yeah, truthfully, Roman Reigns has been the sole like
best thing in wrestling. Best thing in professional wrestling right now.
It's not even close.
Yeah, that's good. The Fiend is good. Drew McIntyre, as much as
McIntyre's
I hated
awesome,
him,
man.
he's fucking awesome.
He's great.
They're even like figuring out how to like reinvent Sheamus again. It's new Irish stereotype the other night. We'll see. I think they got big things planned for him, hopefully. Yeah, I mean, I started recording, by the way, so I thought we had some good analysis about wrestling to start this show off. And plus, we're limited to time here, so hope you guys like a little wrestling talk. Here we go. We'll talk a little Goonery of the week, and we might talk about the Bears, even though that's depressing as hell. We might just kind of have a little open forum sports talk today, kind of get back in the swing of things after taking a couple weeks off here. I'm Uncle Adam. With me is Brandon Cauley and the innkeeper. This is the Goonery. All right. I'm going to jump off or whatever. I'm going to start with Goonery of the week. Derek fucking Carr, man. I wanted to call him out prior to this game so bad because everyone's like, "Oh, Derek Carr is good now." I knew I shouldn't have trusted him. I started him in my fantasy lineup and got like 1 point from him. And luckily it didn't cost me anything, even though it was a big, lot to ride on that game. But I never wanted to believe in Derek Carr because he's just been so terrible over the years, and it's just the same old story. Just like the Bears, it won't change with Derek Carr. What a lousy performance.
I mean, yeah, putting up a 6th spot on what is considered, I think, a bottom 3 defense in the NFL. I mean, coming off of a week where you look really good against the Chiefs, almost beat them a second time.
Right.
You play a team who has struggled all year, going to be get a top 10 draft pick, and it's just a nightmare scenario for Raider fans, in all honesty. I mean, you're finally starting to turn a corner on Carr. If you're a Raiders fan, I would assume. Him and Gruden look like they're starting to get along. And then you see the tension on the sideline, Gruden in Carr's face because, he played like shit, to no other way to put it. Put up 6 points against the Falcons. That you got to address some problems there.
Yeah. Classic Falcons, too. They've 4-2 over the last 6 games after the firing of Ben Quinn. And same story as last season too, right? How they started off so sluggish and finished strong. They'd probably be 5-1 too, right? If Gurley didn't score another Goonery of the week from previous weeks. I don't know. They're such an enigma, that team.
Yeah, but as a guy that defends Derek Carr, I'm not going to defend him.
I'm going to defend Derek Carr.
But only reason I will defend him because I believe it is a curse for West Coast teams to travel to the 1 o'clock time zone and play football. We've seen it over the years. It's always been a thing. So in this regard, I'm going to give him a break. Obviously, it's a big one because he played like crap and the Raiders got blown out. I have to see next week because some games are just an anomaly in the NFL. And I feel like the Chiefs, them losing the game to the Raiders early in the season, that was an anomaly. So I feel like I'm going to give them one more week so I can really make a judgment on them.
And I'm not going to dump on Carr either. I'm not like part of the campaign who thinks that Derek Carr should lose his job. I think there's a lot of franchises in the NFL who would be very, very happy to have Derek Carr under center. I don't necessarily know if he's a scheme fit with the Raiders that running that Gruden West Coast offense, but Carr has played well this year. He's turning around his second year with Gruden. He's not turning over the ball as much. Obviously, not throwing for as many yards. I mean, doesn't have the same receiving core, but I mean, they're a balanced team who I think will end up making a little bit of noise in a wild card spot this year. Potentially,
you think
almost
they're going to
like
make the playoffs after that
I did
loss?
think they'll probably. I mean, with the expanded playoff, I think that they have a chance of sliding into that last wild card spot. Still, I do.
I believe it's outseeded.
I think the Ravens are going to slide into that last wild card spot. I think they're going to get healthy and make a run. They play such cupcake teams down the stretch, minus the Browns, but even
Fair point.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean,
and the Dolphins they're trending down, and the Colts, they have a great record and they've got some good wins, but I don't know. I just see both those teams kind of slipping. One of them's going to slip out of the playoffs. Should be fun to watch, though.
Definitely.
Especially with the expanded playoff as well. There's a lot more teams in contention right now and a lot more coaches who are going to be – I mean, with that expanded playoff, you have to imagine a lot more guys are coaching for their job right now. So you're going to see a lot of desperation on the football field. In all honesty, that's some of my favorite type of football to watch. Just people with their backs up against the wall trying to prove something. Be nice if a coach in the city of Chicago kind of got that same message, but I don't think we're ever going to get to that point.
Yeah, we'll hold that thought for later in the show. Brandon, who's your Goonery of the week?
So just for anyone who's been living under a rock, Sarah Fuller, I believe she plays for Vanderbilt, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
She's the first woman to play in a Power 5 conference football game. Now you would think in 2020, like stuff like this would be a surprise or would be somewhat of accepted, contrary to it be in the 1980s, 1990s. And we're in 2020 and this happens. So the reaction to Sarah Fuller's debut in a Power 5 conference game, if y'all don't mind, I'm gonna read just some comments because it's actually crazy. So
the comments that's definitely some Goonery.
Yeah.
Anytime the internet trolls or chirps people.
A lot of insecurities. I'm
gonna get there. So we got, I hope she made the team some cookies. I hope a botched snap happens. Any leaked nudes, gang bang in the locker room. Hope she gets tackled. Hope someone cleans the clock. Hope she gets head out there. Hope she gets broken half. So for those people that ask those questions, I want to know, was there a high school sweetheart that broke your heart? Were you just not desired in college? Or are you living in your mother's basement in your adulthood for you to have takes like this? Because it's embarrassing. And another question I want to ask these people, if you were to log on to your Facebook and just by magic that, your mother, your grandmother, your sister, your girlfriend, your daughter, they would, access your comments to see this stuff, how would you explain that to them? If you feel so threatened by this woman who just had a squib kick on set, that it was just that. She had a squib kick and you feel threatened by that shows insecurities on your end. So what I would tell those people, stop getting women's business. If you feel threatened by that, how about you go get your own? Simple as that.
I do have a question for you guys. God damn it. Shut up, Daisy. Do you think she should have won SEC Special Teams Player of the Week?
It was reactionary.
Yeah, no, it's 100%.
It felt very, very forced. I don't agree with it.
I don't agree with it either. I mean, obviously, SEC is going to strike while the iron is hot. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just a little bit more Goonery is the fact that Vanderbilt couldn't even get in a scoring position to let her try and kick a field goal or no extra points. That's just a disgrace on the state of Vanderbilt football, who probably – I don't even know if they were relevant when Jay Cutler was there, but that's probably the last time anyone was afraid to play them. And, I mean, it's just – they're a disgrace to the SEC conference.
Just like Skip Bayless is a disgrace to sports media. Where did he go to school at?
Yeah, shades of the Attitude Era from 20 years ago with those comments this week.
Oh, yeah,
That's for sure.
absolutely.
So, all right, Ben, who's your Goonery of the
week? I'll get into mine. I just want to just point out the Denver Broncos and more so just like the NFL as a whole with their COVID protocols. I mean, the Broncos' entire quarterback room wiped out because one of their backups tested positive. The rest of the quarterback room was around them, but without masks. They all tested negative. Whatever, you should be wearing your mask. They all owned up to it. I appreciated Drew Lock coming out and making a statement. I mean, admitting he screwed over their team. Do I think that the Broncos would have won that game if they had Drew Lock? No, but they would have put up more than 3 points. Just shout out to Kendall Hinton, who, I mean, hasn't played quarterback since his freshman year, I believe, at Wake Forest, then just shifted over to wide receiver, came out. I mean, he was in sales a week ago. He was working in sales a week ago off the practice squad, and I'm sure he's back in sales this week. Who's kidding? Broncos aren't going to help him out anyway. Sucks for him, but if the Broncos cared about him like they like to act like they do on social media, just let him be on the active roster this week, get a big check, and play wide receiver. Be a feel-good story. But more so just the NFL, I want to point out. I mean, the Broncos and Steelers game pushed back from Thanksgiving all the way to last night on Wednesday, and they were just missing a few players. I understand they're having more and more positive tests, but you would think maybe a team who has no active quarterback on the roster, you would make some sort of adjustment there, but no. I mean, it's just the blatant disrespect to the smaller market teams. The NFL is pretty baffling.
I don't like this thing of the refusal to forfeit games, because let's be real, the Broncos should have forfeit that game. But I do think the NFL is looking at it as, all right, you didn't want to follow protocol. Guess what? We're going to force you to play as a punishment. And what does that prove? That proves that it's all about the money. You don't care about people getting sick. It's all about the money for you guys. So NFL needs to get out of its own, because they're going to make money regardless. The Cowboys and Redskins did numbers on Thanksgiving. Andy Dalton versus Alex Smith did numbers. Why are you worried about making money in a climate like this? You're going to make it regardless. The NFL should be ashamed of themselves how they handled it. Both the Saints and Broncos and Ravens and Steelers.
I just want to while we're on the topic, we brought up the Saints. I just want to bring this debate up. 2 weeks of Taysom Hill as a starting quarterback. Not sure what you guys think of that whole situation right now, but am I crazy to think that the Saints should just be starting Jameis Winston right now? Taysom Hill's a 30-year-old quarterback who has no real starting experience, and he's struggling to pass the ball. He threw for 78 yards against the Broncos. And then the week prior, he was throwing duck passes where Emmanuel Sanders has to run back and catch him. It doesn't look like an NFL quarterback out there.
Yeah, I think we were all let down when we heard the news that Jameis wasn't going to be the starting quarterback. I think we all wanted to see what he could do in the Saints offense. Sean Payton, he fucking loves himself some Taysom Hill.
It's
like Taysom Hill's got to have some sort of blackmail on Sean Payton at this point, because he has no right getting the ball as much as he did. Even when Breeze was healthy, the random packages he would get substituted in it makes no sense. Yeah, he's athletic, he's big, he can move, but he's not dynamic with the ball in his hands by any stretch of the imagination, I don't think.
If there's one thing that bothers me is these organizations that feel obligated to play players that they give big contracts. I don't give a damn how you see a player because you pay them all this money. You start the best guy on the field. That's clearly that's not what's going on here, because if you feel that Taysom Hill is the better option than Jameis Winston, you should probably reevaluate your football skills or your analysis, because it's not true.
Just give me what you're smoking. Give me what you're smoking at that point.
Yeah, pass that over here.
But hey, that brings up the point though on the topic of quarterbacks. I think this is a nice little segue into the dumpster fire that is the Chicago Bears. Jameis Winston, obviously 1-year contract. It's gonna be we're gonna be entering a rebuild with the Bears. Let's not kid ourselves here. Would you feel comfortable? Obviously, like going after Jameis Winston potentially next year? Because I do not think the answer for the Bears is in the draft in this next year. I don't.
Can they get him?
It's a 1-year deal. I mean, if he leaves the Saints, who's to say? I mean, I feel like Jameis will be upset after not getting the opportunity to start.
Yeah, that'd be a top 2 option. I'd love to see Jameis come in and try to throw the ball around. I'd hate to see him blow up this roster because, I mean, it has potential. They just really struggle on offense, and I mean their defense is struggling now too. Injuries are racking up, and I'd love them for their strategy before going in complete rebuild mode is to give one of these kind of misfit quarterbacks that like a Jameis Winston or we've talked about a Sam Darnold just to come in and give that player a chance, maybe one more season. 1 or 2 more seasons, but otherwise, yeah, it's almost time for a full rebuild.
I'll say this. I would not be opposed to Jameis Winston nor Sammy Darnold because here's the deal. If you go after one of those players, that means that they're going to be in position to start along with Nick Foles because Nick Foles is going to be on the roster next year. I hope people understand that. Now, if you put either Darnold, Winston, or even Foles, just for the sake of just put him on there because he's on a roster. You go in the draft, you have a first round, a second round, and you spend it on an offensive line. That doesn't sound like a bad idea. I mean, because I'm of the impression that if Zach Wilson falls to you, you possibly go after him. But as I said a couple weeks back, it doesn't matter what quarterback's behind that line, they're going to struggle. Now, granted, the offensive line combination we had on Sunday is probably the best we had available in a very long time since we were at full strength. So that's something to build upon, but you do want security because you cannot have someone like Rashad Coward coming in when Bobby Massey or Charles Leno gets hurt or any of the offensive linemen. So, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, they got to patch up that O-line for sure next off season, and hopefully they can find another weapon or two because the ones they have right now are just, not Allen Robinson.
Just on the topic of the Bears receivers, I mean, I'm sure you've seen it on Twitter how vocal both Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller, for what it's worth. I don't know anyone who's really all too upset about him wanting out. Just blatantly liking tweets, just expressing their disappointment with the Bears and how, come to Miami, come to New England, we love you in Seattle. You're seeing all these tweets pop up. I mean, Allen Robinson even liked a tweet saying that we love you in Green Bay. I mean, come on. It ultimately comes down to the McCaskey family. For being completely honest, nothing is changing with this franchise until they sell the team. And is that ever going to happen? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And I like to make a point about Nagy. I've defended Nagy in a lot of respects up until Nick Foles was behind that offensive line that he kept trotting out there. I have a statistic that Bill Zimmerman, if you're a Bears fan, you should absolutely follow Bill Zimmerman. He's very, very good at what he does. Rashad Coward was playing 5 games. And when the offensive line was rotating in and out, he played 5 games. With the 5 games that he was in, played every single snap, the running backs averaged 2.9 yards per carry. Without him in 6 games, they averaged 4.5, excuse me. So I want to know who is out there, trotting him out there. You see the statistics. You have to pay attention to this stuff. So why are you being blatantly negligent? And you think you have the nerve to call out the defense that's been carrying your sorry-ass offense for weeks now. You have the ultimate nerve. And not only just Coward, I don't want to just pick on him. He sucks, but I don't want to just pick on him. How does Trubisky have 3 years in the league? He was out for 3 weeks, and it seemed as though he was on track to be back starting quarterback for the Bears. And still the same mistakes we see every single week. And maybe it's just him, but you had someone to coach him up. Dan Orlovsky tweeted out a video of he was literally in the air, throwing the football to Cole Kmet that could have been a perfect pass for a touchdown. He's in the air. How in the world are you in year 3 and these are the same mistakes you're making? It doesn't make any sense. It has to come down to coaching now because I guarantee you Trubisky leaves after this season, he's going to ball out somewhere else. I'm not saying ball out, but he'll be better than we show with Chicago. I guarantee you. Because I think Nagy, we overrate him because of the wins he got in 2018. But outside of that, he's done absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that too.
Yeah.
There's a few former ex-Bears that seem to be crushing it with new teams. Leonard Floyd.
Yeah.
And, even saw Adam Shaheen score a touchdown this past week for the Dolphins.
I mean, yeah, I just want to touch on two things you made a point alluded to there, Brandon. Mitch Trubisky's progression. I mean, you saw him against the Packers, scrambling around better than Foles ever could, obviously. That's probably Mitch's best attribute, his ability to move around and shuffle around the pocket. But there was at least 3 or 4 very apparent times when Mitch should have just thrown the ball away, but instead he runs out of bounds outside the pocket and takes a loss of 3 or 4 yards. How are you at that point in your NFL career still making that mistake? I can understand when you're rookie, year 2 guy maybe, but at this point in your career, you should still not be making like any of those mistakes. And the second thing, you brought up all those wins Nagy had in 2018. If it's not apparent by now, Vic Fangio won Matt Nagy head coach of the year in 2018. And people who like to dump on Fangio, there's rumors that he might be out of a job in Denver. If that happens, I want the Bears paying him whatever it takes to come back and be the defensive coordinator for this team.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, I think we got to hold Chuck Pagano accountable. How many times are we going to see Robert Quinn and Khalil Mack in coverage? They don't get paid to do that stuff. They're paid to rush the passer. Like, I don't get it.
I mean, they both got burned by Robert Tonyan how many times against the Packers? And it's like, Tanyan's not bad, don't get me wrong, but they don't match up well there for a reason. Another guy who's not great in coverage is Trevathan, too. I mean,
slow.
It's brutal. Like, it's horrible to watch. And I also want to pick on another guy for his coverage, and that's Eddie Jackson. I understand that that's not his strong suit as a player, which is fine. He's great at what he does. He's a ball hawk, and he makes a lot of big hits in the run game. But in pass coverage, he is absolutely putrid. Like, it is brutal to watch. It gives Jalen Johnson gets no help over the top from him ever. I mean, it's gross. This defense is not what it was advertised to be.
I think that falls on Pagano, though. I feel like a lot of stuff that he does just doesn't play to the strengths of the guys. So I want to give them a break, but just a lot of people. There's too much money into that defense for you to get smoked by Aaron Rodgers the way you did. Because it didn't happen last year. This didn't happen last year in neither game. So I don't know what changed, but it's bad.
Yeah, and also, I mean, a huge thing this past week was being without Akeem Hicks. I mean, I think it's pretty apparent now that he might be the most important player on that defense. I mean, I think it could obviously be argued they looked like a completely different unit out there without him. I mean, they just got decimated and torn up in the run game. Aaron Jones, obviously the Packers have a very good offensive line anchored by Bakhtiari and good running attack with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. Doesn't hurt to have Aaron Rodgers. You never know what's going to happen on the offensive side of the ball. But that first drive, I mean, what was it? It was like 9 minutes of them just running the ball right down the Bears' throats. It was, when that happened, you knew that any hope you had of the Mitch Trubisky revenge tour, it was over.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. They're lost out there. They're not playing well. Feels like a long time ago they were 5-1, and we were a little skeptical at the time too.
We said it, worst 5-1 team of all time.
Yeah.
What do you know?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. We'll maybe wrap this up with maybe a little open forum. If there's any other sports news or conversation you guys want to get off your chest while we're live.
I mean, I'll just give a quick shout out real quick to how great of a basketball conference the Big Ten is going to be this year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, early on in the season, Michigan State getting a big win over Duke. Coach K looked like he was going to die on the sidelines, just watching his team get picked apart by Izzo's boys. Indiana's been pretty competitive so far. Obviously, Iowa's a great team. My Illini got roughed up by Baylor last night, but going to bounce back against Duke. Give Duke their second loss to a Big Ten school next week. I mean, Michigan's playing pretty well. Wisconsin's going to make a lot of noise this year. They returned, I think 7 of their top 8 scorers from last year. And Wisconsin basketball, it's just, I mean, they scare me the most out of any team in the Big Ten, I think.
I'm going to stay in the Big Ten, but football, and I was going to talk about Jim Harbaugh before Thanksgiving.
That, I think.
But
My bad.
So good. Jim Harbaugh is responsible for giving Penn State their first win this past weekend. If that isn't the indication that he needs to go, I don't know what is. And I know a lot of people, when Kate McNamara came in, saved Michigan from Rutgers, that's bad enough because you're getting saved from Rutgers. But people thought, okay, maybe he has a chance. Maybe he has a chance to run the table. You get a winless Penn State team coming up and you lose. If he's not gone or he doesn't resign, Michigan football is going straight into the crapper. And I'm not watching. I don't need to watch. I don't need to get my blood pressure up. I don't need to ruin my Saturday. Saturday is a great day for relaxation, enjoying all the other games. I don't want to be upset watching other games and whatnot. So if Jim Harbaugh is the Michigan coach next season, I will not be watching.
You see, Brandon, I agree with you that he needs to go, but I think it's really just at the point where Michigan feels like there are no other options to take over the program and be that face. And I don't see him leaving. And the only other option, I know we talked about Joe Brady a lot here, about him being a potential option. I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes an NFL head coach next year. And I really wouldn't. And I don't know who they would replace him with. I mean, his recruiting classes have been good. They haven't been great, not up to the level Michigan should be at. But I just feel like he's Jim Harbaugh, and the university is going to give him the benefit of the doubt, unfortunately. And it's just going to be more of the same there.
And that's the sad part because one thing I want Michigan to stray away from, just in case like Harbaugh gets fired, they need to stray away from this Michigan man BS. Like, if you're going for the Michigan man stuff, where's that gotten you? This guy Brady Hoke, who had the Sugar Bowl win in 2011, that was it. You had Rich Rodriguez, who was the lone guy who wasn't a Michigan man. He sucked. Lloyd Carr was one of the main guys that, he was the last good head coach for Michigan. I think you have to break the mold because obviously with Juwan Howard, Michigan basketball, he was the right hire because he had Michigan ties and he was coaching under Eric Spoelstra. So obviously that was a great hire. Now you just have, if you're Ward Manuel, you have to look for a guy that you feel is going to shift the whole entire culture, like completely, because the Michigan needs a culture change in the worst way because you have Indiana passing you up now. Northwestern's passing you up. Wisconsin is speeding by you now. So what are you gonna do? You're one of the most recognized schools in the nation, but now you're looked at as the Dallas Cowboys of college football. So what are you gonna do about it?
That's actually a great comparison, and I'll give you a solution. I'll trade you Lovie Smith from the University of Illinois for Harbaugh. We could do that deal straight up.
I would take Lovie Smith on the Bears right now. Okay.
Yeah. Lovie is absolutely horrible here at Illinois, but hey, he got them to a Red Box Bowl last year, 5 wins and a contract extension. So good for him.
Yeah, I'm always gonna root for him because I feel like he was given a raw deal in Chicago. But I mean, I can't root for him too much because he's a rival, obviously. But just for a personal standpoint, I'm always gonna root for Lovie. He seems like a really good guy.
What are you guys' thoughts on the Northwestern? Are you buying or selling them being?
I mean, that's just the most that loss to Michigan State is the most Northwestern thing of all time. I mean, with the way it's looking with Ohio State, with all their COVID cases they have going on, they might not even be eligible for the Big Ten championship. And all Northwestern had to do, I mean, I'm saying all they had to do. It's obviously a tough thing. They had to win out. they lose to Michigan State. That is just so Northwestern. It's not even funny. It's just like you would grow up, watch, like being from the city, you'd obviously grow up, turn on the 11 a.m. Northwestern game every week on the Big Ten Network, and you would just be conditioned to mediocrity there. And like, I'm a big fan of Pat Fitzgerald. He seems like he's a great coach. And to be honest, I'd love to see him on the Bears at some point. I think he'd be that'd be an interesting dynamic. But no, you sell on Northwestern. It's still Northwestern at the end of the day.
I never really gotten the whole Pat Fitzgerald hype. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because he's a former player and he has teams that play hard, but it's stuff like this. Like you have to beat Michigan State. You have to. And he did not do it. And stuff like this. And I saw, Pat Fitzgerald as a potential candidate for the Bears head coaching spot. And when I see games like this, I'm just like, I don't know. Like, it's a perfect fit probably, but I don't know. I don't know, man.
I was looking at that Big Ten basketball, just pivoting back to that. There's not a losing record in that conference 4 games in.
Best conference in the country right now. I mean, Big Ten is very rapidly becoming a basketball conference and not a football conference.
Yep.
Which, hey, got to do what you got to do. And who knows if the season's even going to get completed. Yeah. I'm prepping for the worst again. I want to get invested. I've been watching early, but with so much of this going on, I mean, hey, I'll give it to college football. Been doing a pretty good job. I mean, the flexibility we're starting to see too in college football, that's pretty fucking cool. I mean, BYU and Coastal Carolina just scheduling a game on a whim this week. Obviously not going to get either of them into a playoff. But if the winner of that game, if they end up winning out, they're probably going to end up playing in the big New Year's Day Bowl. So good for them. I'm really looking forward to that game.
Oh, same here.
Should be a good time. Anything else going on in the sports world?
Nothing in Major League Baseball as expected. But, we could talk about your Cubs real quick. Non-tendering Schwarber. I mean, Elmore expected, but Schwarber, I kind of saw that as a surprise.
Dude, yeah, it's
someone you once called Babe Ruth.
I don't know what we're gonna get out of the Cubs over the next few years, but they seem to kind of be blowing up pretty quickly here, and I don't know what they're gonna do with Chris Bryant. I don't know.
I mean, are you part of the campaign that would like to just see everyone except for a few of the core guys traded this offseason or at the trade deadline, depending on how they come out next year? Like, what are you thinking on that?
I mean, my biggest thing is I'd be pretty heartbroken if they let go Chris Bryant. I mean, I love that guy. He's I know he's kind of been injury prone over the last couple seasons, and his numbers quite haven't been there, but probably expecting a big contract too. I don't know. That team needs a lot of help, pretty much in all aspects of the game right now.
I mean, it's going to go down, unfortunately. I mean, as a baseball fan, unfortunately, I'm a White Sox fan, but being in the city, you like to see both teams succeed just because the atmosphere between the two fan bases, it's unmatched when you have both of them playing at a high level. Obviously, this year the Cubs still, they were solid, but
they can't get on base. Their pitching is suspect. Their bullpen's suspect. Their no farm system. It's not.
Yeah, and I think, in all honesty, Adam, I see them trading Bryant this offseason. I see them potentially parting ways with one of Contreras and Baez. I think Rizzo's going to stay there, obviously. He's your Jose Abreu. I just see him going nowhere. And I honestly think Darvish will get dealt too. I really do. I think they're going to start I think Darvish is an interesting one. I've seen a lot of rumors on Twitter from, obviously probably just bullshit accounts, but linking the Sox to Darvish. Obviously, I don't know if I would want that to happen just because of the prospect capital you'd most likely have to give up. If there's any pitcher I want the White Sox trading for right now, it's Blake Snell. But It's going to be an interesting offseason. I don't think we're really going to see anything until the winter meetings, though. I don't.
Yeah.
It's baseball. I mean, the NBA's lit the world on fire with their free agency and their offseason. I mean, hell, the season starts in what, 22 days?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, shout out to those NBA guys, though, for jumping literally right back into it.
Yep. I'm enjoying seeing the Cubs burn down. I'm loving it. Even if my Cardinals don't do much, which I don't expect them to do because that's just what the Cardinals do. But if the Cubs are burning down before my very eyes, it's not that bad.
What are you guys' thoughts on the old Bulls draft pick recently?
I mean, when you're showing your fucking montage as a player that you love flowers and you like, I mean, it's just, I mean, nothing against Patrick Williams, but like, he was a sixth man. Obviously, Florida State's a good program. He's highly projectable, big dude. He's only 19. He's super young, but like, when in your draft day montage before there's any highlights, they start showing me videos of you with flowers. I'm out on you, man. Like we're drafting you third overall, and you're showing us that you love petunias and tulips. I don't give a shit. Can you play basketball?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I mean, I'm hoping Billy Donovan can do something with them. I'm excited to see what he does with this like young core. I don't think that Levine's going to end up going anywhere like I originally thought. So we'll see.
I trust a lot of what Leonard Hamilton does. He's an excellent basketball coach, and Florida State is probably the most. If you are a fan of a team and they're playing Florida State, you're gonna have fits because this team plays defense, and they are they're tough every single season. So I do think it was a little bit of a reaching for a 6-man for your pick, but the kid's only 19. He has a lot of room to grow. So with that being said, I think that it'll be a good pick, but it's important to practice patience with them.
Yeah, I mean, my gears were grinded a little bit when I saw Denny Avdija. I don't know how to pronounce it. The small forward from Israel fall to, I think he fell to like 8 or 9. I wanted the Bulls to take him pretty badly.
Should've.
And I mean, it was the ideal. That was an ideal fit, I would say. I mean, then you watch, he's a 19-year-old. You watch his highlight tape. Obviously, he's not playing at the NCAA level, but he's playing professionally in Europe. And you're like, oh, shit, must be nice. This guy can play basketball. He doesn't love flowers. Like, would have been, I mean.
Yeah.
Chicago sports, man. Chicago sports.
Dude, it's so heartbreaking.
I mean, Brandon, you got to be feeling pretty good, though, about that AD extension, I would assume.
We are locked in for the long run.
Yeah, it happened this morning.
Okay.
We are locked in for the long run. I just hope that everybody is ready for another Warriors repeat dynasty type of thing that's going to happen. Because it's going to happen. As long as LeBron stays healthy, and AD, of course. But if those two stay healthy, I mean, just watch out. Because the team is better this year than it was last season. So just watch out.
Yeah, they retooled well, and I can't wait to see the NBA just manipulate the lottery that year to make sure Bronny can play with LeBron.
Yep, I know what's going to happen.
Good times. All right, we got to wrap it up here. Thanks for listening. If you guys like the podcast, don't forget to subscribe at iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at _Goonery. We're on YouTube and anywhere social media is. Till next time.